Good evening. I call this meeting of the Board of Commissioners for Monday, February 17th to order. We are down 2 commissioners tonight. We have both Commissioner Etheridge and Chairman O'Neill are not here today, so we will be operating like a blast from the past with 5. At 5 o'clock, we had a work session for a budget overview and revenue discussion, and I want to thank the staff for that. Very helpful, very informative. Our first order of business is the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Do I have Pastor Rob Lawrence here tonight?
I'm sorry, I made an error on the pastor, so Pastor McClure is here.
Oh, Pastor McClure, thank you very much.
I invite you to stand as you're able as we pray together. God of all the nations, you have called us as all people to live lives of righteousness and justice. You have called all people to live lives of peace and wholeness. Bless those who gather in this place. Give our commissioners the gift of discernment. Give the gifts of wisdom. Give the gifts of vision. To those who lead here, grant patience and cooperation. To those who debate here, grant clarity of thought. To those who decide here, grant the courage for truth. Help us, Lord, pay attention to the broken places in our life together, places of despair and disappointment. Open our ears to hear the cry of the poor. Set our eyes to see the needs of those who are hurting. Set our hearts to beat in rhythm with yours, and blend us with all people of goodwill, both in this place and beyond, in order that this county might be a place of hope, prosperity, and fulfillment for all her citizens. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend McClure. Our next order of business is the Ethics Awareness and Conflicts of Interest Reminder. Ms. Brothers. Ms. Morgan, sorry. From the past again.
Pursuant to GS 153A-44, a commissioner has a duty to vote on matters coming before the board, but may be excused from voting on issues involving the commissioner's own financial interest, official conduct, or on matters on which the commissioner is prohibited from voting under GS 14-234 or 160D-109. In accordance with Chapter 2, Division 3 of the Currituck County Code of Ordinances, it is the duty of every commissioner to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any commissioner have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before the Board of Commissioners in this meeting? If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict.
I would like to disclose that a matter coming before us this evening, the Barco Reserve, that is, we've got some real estate agents involved in that are at the same company that I am. I am not involved in this in any way. I have talked to some of the people that are involved in this. I've met them in the office. I just want to disclose that. They're being represented by other agents from my office.
And Commissioner Rose, based on that involvement, do you have a fixed opinion regarding the decision that you're going to make tonight?
I do not.
Okay, so really it's up to the board if you want to make a motion for her to be excused. In my opinion, I don't think she's prohibited from voting under 160D-109.
I'm fine.
I'm
fine with it.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll disclose as well, I've never done any work for that development or anything like that, so, or that outfit that's bringing it forward.
All right. All right, thank you. The next item is the approval of agenda. Do I have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would like to, under new business, item 6, under board appointments, item A, ABC Board, I'd like to remove that from tonight's meeting at this time to a future date to be determined.
Okay.
So that was 6, which one was that?
6A.
6A, board
6A.
appointments under new business.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to, make a motion to remove that from the agenda then.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, it is removed. All right, next is our public comment. This is a time that we allow the public to speak. You will have 3 minutes, and I ask that you keep your comments to that. We have a light system that will help remind you when the yellow light comes on, that means wrap it up. You have 30 seconds, and of course, when the red light comes on, please finish your comments. I have 3 people signed up tonight. Our first one is Cameron Lowe.
Good evening, Cameron Lowe, 619 Idlet Road, and I'm also your Currituck County Extension Director. And I come here tonight with good news, and I'm going to ask public comment person number 2 to actually join me. Broughton, if you want to come on up. We have had a vacancy in our agricultural extension agent position for about 6 months, and I've come bearing good news to let you know that we have filled that vacancy. This is Broughton Goodson. Broughton comes to us from NCDA most recently, but he's a graduate of North Carolina State University, and he'll be assisting our farmers and agribusiness folks with that research-based information from the university to help them keep their businesses operational, sustainable, and environmentally friendly. He'll be providing pesticide education and all of those things that our agriculture agents do. So I just wanted to bring Broughton and allow you guys to meet him, and welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome aboard. Good to have you here. Farmers will be happy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The next person that I have signed up is Todd Mitchell.
You want me to state my address?
Yes, please.
Good evening. Good evening. My name's Todd Mitchell. I live at 108 Chapman Lane. Some of you know me from the past. Some of you are new. So first off, good evening, commissioners, and thank you for allowing me to speak on a topic that concerns me deeply. I will start by saying I believe this board is not receiving the correct information when it comes to the relationship between Currituck Fire EMS and the volunteer fire companies. I know that in the past I have spoken. As I finish speaking and sit down, a number of board members are quick to beat down my comments because I have no chance to correct or to prove those statements false. I used to get upset because I truly thought you were trying to cover up something. But after a meeting with one of your board members for about 2.5 hours, and this board member gave me a chance to speak freely with him and another volunteer chief, show him some of the data that I had pulled up and some of the other things that I have pulled up. I don't think you were. I think you've been misinformed. I think you've been fed some information that's not true, and I have documentation of that. So I'd like to keep going on with that. So as many of you know, I started to voice my unhappiness about the current system, which I've done much research on and collected a lot of data. I am here to speak on some of those issues I feel need to be addressed, hopefully by this board, and others will be expressed at the VFAB board next Monday. I believe it is at Corolla, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, before I begin to come to many meetings, I have listened to the wonderful 2040 vision that is preached at every meeting. This 2040 vision, you'll talk about it again when the developers get up, about the future of Currituck County. So after that first couple of meetings I made a phone call to another commissioner and said, can you please show me in the 2040 vision where it talks about the future of fire, EMS, and the Sheriff's Department for Currituck County? You're not going to believe it. I ain't got a phone call back yet. And that's because it doesn't say anything in the 2040 vision about the future of fire, EMS, and the Sheriff's Department. And we talk about all this growth and we're bringing all this stuff in, and I agree, we need some of it. But we also got to protect these people here. So I began working with the volunteer chiefs over 3 months ago on a plan that could match your 2040 vision plan, and it would give us some help towards the future and try to put some money away when the time comes that the volunteers can no longer handle the amount of calls that are going to come from the growth. I'm sorry, I'm almost out of time, so I'm not going to be able to get to my 2 issues. But the one issue I want to talk about is our county is about to buy $300,000 of turnout gear. There's a law that states that we can't use the bigger city, neighboring city contract because their contract's over 4 years old, which means we pay an extra 12% for that turnout gear, which means that's roughly $36,000 that we're wasting when we could allow our volunteers to buy that $300,000 worth of gear and save that 12%. I promise you, if we save $36,000, Dana Parker will find somewhere to use it. She'll use it for our teachers. I can promise you that.
Mr.
So-
Mitchell,
Yes.
I invite you to come back at another meeting and give us more thoughts on this. I'm sorry that we're
Nope,
limited
nope,
to
I
3
understand.
minutes. But I appreciate your comments. So if you'll come back and finish your thoughts, I would greatly appreciate
Yes,
that.
ma'am. Lastly, I'll meet with any of you anytime. You can speak with Commissioner, sorry, I'm flusher right now.
McCord, you're good.
McCord about that, and I'm not being rude. I have to go back to work.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wanted to speak at public comment that was not here when we had the sign-out sheet? Okay, then I'm going to close public comment, and we will move to the next item on the agenda. Excuse me just a second. Okay. All right, our next item is the Commissioner's Report. I'm going to start with Commissioner McCord.
I'll be super quick, and that never happens.
Believe it when we see it.
No. Try not to get emotional. Let me go last. Go ahead, Tony.
I will be super quick. Currituck County wrestling team competed at regionals this weekend. We've got 2 kids that are slated to go to states. Dominic Yarger at 175 is a junior, first time going to states. Jordan Tolliver, he's a senior, second time going to states. Supposed to go on Wednesday. We will see if Mother Nature allows that to happen or if we have to shuck and adjust the schedule. Other than that, that's all I got.
Okay. Ms. Rose?
Goodness gracious. I did see on social media that a group, Mr. Swain, you'll have to tell me the name. It's a group, I believe, of 12 motorcycle riders. What's the name of that group?
The 12.
The 12. And they had installed a new blessing box at Knott's Island, Hempstead's Trailer Park. So I want to give a shout out to them for making a difference in their community. We appreciate that. And we've got snow coming, they say. I want to give a shout out to Cameron Lowe and our Welcome Center and the Milliock Women's Club because they are putting together little backpacks of food to help those folks that get Meals on Wheels when you're not able to come in the snow. And that's all I have right now.
Okay. Mr. Payment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple things, just again on the weather. It looks like we're going to get some significant snow, so just stay well aware, stay off the roads if it's bad. I mean, the state gets the main roads pretty quickly, but not the secondary roads. And if you haven't signed up for the Currituck Alert, I'd ask you to do it. It's a nice service. The county sends out alerts through that. I believe it's the texting on your phones. Just give you updates on what's going on, counties, closings, and whatnot's going on. So if you have it, I think you can go to the website and sign up for that and get important information through any storms, anything that's going on, the emergencies in the county. It's good to have. Volunteer fire departments. The gentleman that just came up here, he's got some good points, and he did make kind of a good statement. I was a volunteer firefighter for a long time. Went through all the training, answered the page, got out to the scenes, traffic scenes, fire scenes, suited up, got out there. It takes a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication, a lot of extra time. Unfortunately, a lot of volunteers are dropping out because they run out of time. They don't have the time and the commitment. They can do it anymore. I'm not active like you because I do not have the time anymore. But when I was in it, I gave it everything I had. The training, running the trucks up and down. So there may come a point, and we hope it doesn't. I mean, we support the volunteers. We do everything we can for them, but it's harder and harder to get volunteers in the fire department. So if you can volunteer out there, if you can do anything, even if you stand out there and hold a sign, cones, help direct traffic, hand out water bottles to the firefighters. There's all sorts of stuff you can do for volunteers. They would welcome any of them. And I believe you can go to our website or you can contact our fire department. Our Chief Melton, I believe, too, can help you get the information and get you in touch with someone. So if you can get involved, please, and thank them. It's a hard job being a volunteer, but we're going to try to keep supporting that as long as we can. And lastly, the health department. I want everybody to know I sit on the Health Department Executive Board, and we have discussions of trying to get more health services in the county, doctors' offices, because we're lacking a few, especially in the south and on the beach. And we've revamped the health department's office over here by the courthouse. We actually have a nurse practitioner that you can call and you can schedule appointments. They will take any insurance, they'll file it for you. If you can't pay it, they have payment options. They will help any way they can. You can get vaccinations, you can get physicals. The kids can get their physicals there. You can get prescriptions,
Blood work.
blood work. They'll even write a prescription to have X-rays if you need it. So think of it as another, I guess, I don't know, doc in a box, whatever you want to call it, but it's not just a health department, it's actually medical services the counties can use. But do call in advance to schedule something. And we're looking at trying to get something at the south end of the county. We're working on that. We've had discussions with that at the south end and maybe something part-time in the Outer Banks as well. So we're actively looking into that. We know it's a concern. We're working on it. But it takes, as you're well aware, the medical industry, finding doctors and nurses right now, it's hard. Everybody is reaching out. Everybody's grabbing them. Everybody's paying them. So it's harder and harder to keep a nurse practitioner here, but we have one that loves it here, lives here. And but they do like seeing people because it keeps them sharp and keeps the practice up, and they don't get bored. So please, if you have an opportunity, you need to go play something quick, call the health department, and they'll take you in. And again, just be careful out there. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
I'll go ahead. I just want to thank the community for the kind words. I'm never speechless. That's it.
Okay. Let me know if you want to say more, Mr. McCord. Okay. Finally, it's been a very busy week since our last, very busy 2 weeks since our last meeting. I want to first of all say thank you to all of our staff that participated in our visioning retreat that we held on Tuesday, February 4th. We had a very good work session tonight on the agenda. We have 3 products that we brainstormed and came up with, including a mission statement, and a vision, as well as some of our buzzwords that we're going to adopt tonight, hopefully. We also got a little overview of ethics and procedure, thanks to our county attorney. So I appreciate all the work that went into that. And we have another work retreat scheduled for next Wednesday, a week from this Wednesday. We also, Chairman O'Neill, our county manager, and myself met with Bobby Hannig and professional engineer Brian Rubino to get an update on the Wellhead Boat Basin dredging project. Really good, optimistic discussion, and hopefully that will come to fruition soon. We also had a meeting, Chairman O'Neill, the county manager, and myself, along with our finance director, Sandra Hill, met with our counterparts from the school board and the school system, and it was an extremely productive discussion. We talked about priorities, we talked about budgeting, we had a great, very civil and very energetic conversations, and I look forward with more of those very good meetings with the school system and as we move into our budget discussions. And finally, my favorite time of the year, it's March for Meals. The Meals on Wheels program next month celebrates its anniversary. It was founded in 1972 by President Nixon to help our seniors with food insecurity. Most people call it Meals on Wheels. That's what the common name is. And it is a great opportunity to help your neighbor. It is a great opportunity to give back to the community, because one day we may all be in that same kind of predicament. And it is a good opportunity not only to bring them hot meals, but also to lay eyes upon them and have a brief conversation with them, to let people know that there are lifelines out there. And I say every year, and it is sincerely, the best thing I do all month is to volunteer. So I challenge our board members and the citizens themselves to get involved this March and take a slot and help deliver the Meals on Wheels. Thank you. Anybody else have anything else? Okay. We will move into the county manager's report then.
All right, thank you. So I'll just follow up on the weather. We are under a winter storm watch, and the Weather Service is pretty confident that we'll see at least 6 inches of snow starting on Wednesday. We are updating the county website, and I'm also happy to report that we have Facebook again. We lost our Facebook page about a month and a half ago, and so we have a new page that is back up, and it is Currituck County Government. So we'll be sharing information through the Facebook page as well. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Our county attorney's report.
Yes, thank you. I attended the UNC School of Government's County Attorneys Conference a couple weeks ago, and as usual, it was a great program, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to go to that.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, we have the administrative reports, wastewater system update. Ken Griffin, our Public Utilities Director.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
I'll give you copies that you follow along if you'd like. You can have it for reference. Our county manager asked me to prepare a summary for you of our wastewater systems, our treatment plants, and our collection systems. And I know there's a number of issues that you're interested in and a number of challenges that we're facing. And I wanted to give you a status report and make some suggestions in terms of moving forward. As you know, we have 5 wastewater plants and 5 wastewater collection systems. 1 in the Outer Banks and 4 in the mainland. So first of all, the mobile plant. As you know, we have a temporary plant that we moved into Moyoc to treat the wastewater because the previous temporary plant never functioned properly. We've made great progress on installing that plant, bringing it up to operational conditions. The plant is working quite well in many respects. We've collected the first 2 rounds of sampling, 2 rounds per month. That's in January. And we are in compliance for the average of those samples for 13 of the 14 parameters. There's 1 parameter that we're not quite in compliance with yet, but we will get it there. And once we have the plant in full compliance for an unspecified period of time, then we believe that NCDEQ will allow us to release the moratorium. They'll release the moratorium, and additional customers can be connected. And we know that there's a number of businesses and customers that are interested in connecting.
Is there an approximate time frame? Could it be over 6 months, within 6 months, or do you have any guesstimates out there?
We have gotten no estimate from DEQ about how long we have to be in compliance.
So it could be a year?
My sense is a few months.
Okay.
Of compliance, and we're very close.
Parameter that we're not meeting.
The 1 parameter is nitrate nitrogen. The first sample collected in January was in full compliance. The second one was slightly over. You have to average the 2 sets of samples in terms of how we report that, and we're slightly over as a result. It's a tough standard.
We have to have how many good reports before they say we
Couple.
can check that box?
Yeah, that's exactly the question. They have not told us. But we've asked repeatedly, nicely, and my sense is 2 or 3 months, something like that, to where they really feel assured that we can properly treat the wastewater and fully meet the standards. And they're tough standards they've given us.
Ken, if you could, on the mobile plants, like a lot of people are going to like that kind of setup across the state, am I correct?
Well, there's a lot of situations in which a mobile plant does make sense, and they're mobile in the sense that they're brought in by truck. We had 5 large trucks bring the plant in from Louisiana for us, across 7 states. The plant's installed. I will tell you the plant is very operationally intensive. We have 2 men that are working almost full-time bringing that plant into compliance. We have a small staff, so it's something that we'll be happy comes into compliance, but we're also looking forward to the next item, which is the new permanent plant.
Yes, sir.
I
As
think
far
that's
as
the way to go.
you say, it's operationally and maintenance intensive. Is that because we were out of compliance and it's taking extra manpower and man hours to get it into compliance? And once that it's achieved, it would kind of be smooth sailing, or is it going to continue to be?
We had some of those issues because a small portion of the old plant we were able to reuse, but most of that work is just bringing the new plant into compliance. The nature of the design is one that is very intense for us to operate. And so the good news is that we do have a clear indication on that. And so that as we're in the middle of designing the new permanent plant, we know the right direction is not to try to utilize the temporary plant and buy that plant that we have on lease now. We have it on 3-year lease.
Okay.
So it's good we have that clear direction.
And I was telling him that's something, like I know myself and Commissioner Etheridge went and viewed the plant a couple times on how it operates and everything. Pretty educational.
It is. It's fascinating technology, and it does a tremendous job. When you look at what the influent chemical levels are and constituent levels are, and what the results are, it's quite impressive.
And this plant is on lease currently.
We have on a 3-year lease.
And we've had it for how long?
We've had it about a year.
We've the plant was delivered late September. We brought it online in January, and we're operating it now. So we've started on the process of design of the new permanent plant for Moyock. That design process is well underway. The plant sizing is going to be 300,000 to 400,000 gallons, probably closer to 400,000 gallons per day. That's what we can afford to do. Doesn't mean that is going to be the final result of plants in Moyock, because we're having tremendous growth in Moyock. But what we can afford to do is to build a 300,000 to 400,000 gallon plant. So that plant is well underway in terms of design. And we have, in terms of dates, as you can see on there, we plan to be permitted and shovel-ready to actually construct in September of this year. Actual construction, and after the bidding process and award process, will start in January of '26, and will be complete by August of '27. Well within time for the temporary lease that we have, the 3-year lease that we have. Let's move on to Maple Commerce. As you know, that's the excellent plant that we have in the Commerce Park that treats a number of our facilities and a couple of businesses that we have there. Our capacity for that plant is 40,000 gallons per day. We're at about 29,000 gallons per day now. That plant is now working well. We've had some challenges, both in terms of treatment and especially in terms of inflow. We had a couple of very high sources of inflow that caused us to be not in compliance in terms of flow. DEQ regulates us in terms of both chemical constituents and in flow. We have those addressed. We found those sources of inflow. The plant is fully in compliance now.
If we're not in compliance, sorry. If we're not in compliance, are we fined?
We are satisfied, fully satisfied in terms of Maple Commerce. But yes, whenever we are not in compliance, we get notices, and if they go very long, then we do get fined. And I'll make some comments about that in terms of some of the particular plants that we're working on. I make every effort that I can, along with Rebecca's help, to ask for waivers of any fines that we have when we're making a superhuman effort to bring those plants into compliance. One of the things that we think will help a lot in keeping our Maple Commerce plant in compliance is putting a SCADA system in place. SCADA system is a supervisor control and data acquisition system, so that as you sit at the PC, at our workstations, we can see how well that plant is functioning at every stage of the plant. and then we can make adjustments accordingly. And so there's no surprises when we take the samples. We know whether our plant is compliant or not. We're operating correctly. Right now, it's difficult because we don't have a SCADA system in place. And this plant is a proprietal plant designed by F.R. Mahoney out of Massachusetts. And they control the computer program that operates the different components, the different stages in the plant. And so it's difficult for us to communicate with them because they can't see the plant, the functions of the plant, and we can't really convey to them how the plant is functioning. But if we put the plant on a SCADA system, we're working with our IT department and our SCADA contractor, we can very easily share that information with F.R. Mahoney designers and allow them to make the changes that we need to make in the future.
Yeah,
As we
I
move through
installed
that
quite a
plant.
few SCADA systems. They function nice.
It's really the way to go, especially in a situation like this. And it will be time as things are moving, so we only have a small amount of capacity. Maybe with the next major project, it'll be time to start the expansion of the plant. And we recommend that when we do that expansion, that planning and that design, that it not be a proprietal design, so that we can more easily seek assistance when we need it in terms of operational challenges with that plant. Waterside wastewater treatment plant. We have an excellent record of compliance with that. It's a very good plant, very good spray disposal fields. We've had some challenges just this year that kind of they're ongoing challenges that we face every year. We have quite excessive infiltration, inflow, sediment input that comes from the Walnut Island collection system. And we spend a lot of time and money each year trying to identify those sources of inflow, sediment input, cap those, secure those. But there's a lot of old connections there. A lot of things have been done over the years and been changed and not corrected, not addressed. And so it's an ongoing effort that we find those, correct those, cap those to prevent that in the future. But as a result, we have some repairs that we need to make to the plant. I list those repairs there to both the plant and the collections, both the plant and the disposal system.
Hey, Ken, can I interrupt you real quick?
Of course.
And before we jump to the beach, because we're still on the mainland, the Mayock Commons plant, which one does that fall? Does that fall under the Mayock?
I didn't list that because that
I know it's super small.
That was one of the only ones that Rebecca didn't ask me to report on. She asked for all the ones that you had mentioned. But yeah, we're in good shape.
I know
on
that one's
Mayock
in super
Commons.
compliance, I've heard. So.
We're in good shape. That's a small plant serving that commercial area.
What is that like?
Kevin, don't jinx
Yeah,
it.
I'm not trying to jinx it. What is that like? Is that 30,000 or 25,000?
I think it's 25,000.
I think it's 25. Okay. When we was looking at it, I was like, before we jump to the beach, I'm gonna bring it up. Thanks.
Good question. You caught that right away. There are a lot of needs in the Walnut Island, Waterside Villages, Grandy area. Requests for service, requests for extensions. There's a number of force main projects that have been requested, gravity projects that have been requested. There's a number of challenges that a number of the businesses are facing there in terms of their wastewater treatment and disposal. And as a result of that, we're recommending to you that you consider doing a comprehensive Waterside Villages, Walnut Island collection system and service area study and master plan to address those.
Right now, what's the expandability of that?
Right now, what's the
expandability of that plant?
we can expand it. That's the next item that I have there. There is one more expansion that we can do with the plant the way it is, and I think it's time that we do start on that.
Okay.
The cost estimate, as you can see on there, is about $170,000 complete design and construction, and I do recommend we start on that.
And was it, okay, yep, okay.
Let's see. The last item in terms of Waterside Villages and Walnut Island is that once we do complete that study, assuming that you want to proceed with it, when we advertise for design of those collection system improvements, suggest that the consultant that is chosen, the engineering firm that is chosen, they assist us with securing the significant amount of federal funding that is available to make that possible, more possible for us. That's a typical way that you can do RFPs and help you solve both the design and construction problems, but also the funding issue. Ocean Sands, the one plant that we do have in the Outer Banks. It's a large plant, capacity of 600,000 gallons per day. We're at peak flow now at 490,000 gallons per day. But it does get higher than that during flooding events. As you know, flooding is a major challenge we face in many levels in the Outer Banks, both for stormwater and wastewater. We've been under notice from DEQ to install major headworks improvements at the plant on the Outer Banks at Ocean Sands, and we have completed those, completed the design, completed the construction, the fabrication, the installation, and have that fully online, and that's working exceptionally well. Because of that, we've asked DEQ to waive any penalties and fines on that, and they are considering doing so. We took just a little bit longer to install those than we initially had projected. I believe in that regard, I think they will not penalize us.
That's not that old of a plant, though, is it?
Pardon?
That's not that old of a plant, is it?
Few years.
Yeah, it's just a few years old, right? The plant.
Yeah,
The plant's it's not that old.
Yeah, it's not that old, but the headworks needed major work. They probably were not correctly designed in the first place. And so we had to totally redesign those headworks. We had a local engineering firm do that work.
Was there any recourse? I mean, can you go back to the design then if there was a?
Probably not at this stage. But yeah, it's been an operational headache,
Yeah.
time-consuming headache for our operators there, and they've done yeoman's work doing so. But I'm pleased that's done, and it's working as it should. The real challenge now in Ocean Sands are the monitoring wells. They are not functioning properly. We don't know if it's because the plant's not functioning properly or because the monitoring wells themselves have failed. It's probably the latter. The monitoring wells themselves have failed. It's a fairly tricky issue to properly assess the condition of the monitoring wells and to make the right decisions on repair and replacement of those. And
How many
DEQ
monitoring wells are there, Ken?
Pardon?
How many monitoring wells are there?
Four major monitoring wells. We've had different recommendations from contractors. DEQ has advised us strongly that they want to review those recommendations. They want to look at those monitoring wells themselves with us to make sure that we get good advice, we make good decisions. It's not a simple matter. They have significant expertise. They're senior engineer on staff. And we almost got them out there in September when the mass flooding hit with the storm event in Ocean Sands. And
They're not going to try to look at them from Raleigh.
Just give them a minute till April or, March happens and we'll get more rain.
Well, their senior engineer is right here in Washington, close by.
Okay.
And we have a very good working relationship with them. We're working hand in hand with him and the director, of course, on Moyock Regional. So we have an excellent working relationship. And when they say they want to give us their advice, we want to take it. So unfortunately, we had to cancel it because everything was underwater. It was flooded. And then as soon as we got things cleared up, which we did very quickly in a matter of just a few days, 2.5 days in Ocean Sands, with the groundwater levels throughout the area, and stormwater levels, they got called to Western North Carolina from the hurricane. And virtually every person they have has been stationed there. In the meantime, they've lost a lot of staff as well. But I talked with the director today, and he promised me that he would get out there with their chief engineer and would be very soon. The good news about that is that's given me strong argument to say, look, we've tried to get you here. You've not been able to. We understand. Would you please waive any fines? And that's under consideration.
So once pending them coming out, like what is the expected replacement time for these monitoring wells?
That should not be a long period of time. You know, a month should take care of that. We need to write up the specifications, get it out for RFP.
Anybody else have any questions?
I just want to say one thing, like if anybody's watching or listening or whatever, as far as like the different stuff when we're talking about having to fix this, fix that, spend that, if the county manager would put out there, I know it's been said 50 times that we have some state funds available for a bunch of these projects. I don't remember the exact dollar amount. I know it's close to what, 16 million? Okay. So like, it's not, rock bottom for everybody. They're gonna have to throw in a couple dollars, or we're gonna have like a tip jar at the stoplights or something. So we do have $16 million to go towards these projects.
You're exactly right. That's a good point. And both our county managers, Ike and Rebecca, have done an outstanding job securing that money and getting it ready to go. And that's by far the biggest chunk of money that we need for Moyock Regional. That's the design that's underway now. And we're committed to that. We've also asked those consultants to help us, and we have applied for additional funding, state funding for that plant to cover the gap. The initial response is favorable, and now we get to put in the details of what we want for that grant request.
Thank you.
Rose?
There are other septic systems within the county that you do not oversee, correct?
That's right.
Okay, I know Eagle Creek, we have nothing to do with that.
No, we don't. We're certainly aware of it, and that's going to be a real ongoing challenge for all the folks that do have to deal with that.
Are there others that we have nothing to do with that we don't oversee in the county?
There's some
That's the
small-
only one I've heard of. Are there others?
There's some smaller ones.
There's some systems that the health department regulates.
Small ones.
Correct, right.
Okay.
But that's the health department, I think, will oversee those.
Okay.
Backwoods Reserve has like a small one, I think, don't they?
Anybody else have questions for Mr. Griffin?
I got one more thing. So you said we had a 3-year lease starting in September of 2024 or January 2025 on the mobile plant.
Should be September.
Okay. So you said earlier that we'd have plenty of time to complete the Moyock regional expansion, which is in the note here, August of 2027, which would give us all of August and September. I don't know if you've ever been around a government building project, but did you calculate wiggle room into that already, or what?
Well, we've been aware of that right from day one. And one of the reasons that the recommendation was made by Rebecca and I for this plant was to do it as design build, because we can do it quicker that way.
Okay.
And so I think we can do that. I think we can do it on time. Our engineers and contractors are very much aware of that deadline.
Yep. Just making sure that was, question on that one.
That's an excellent point. That's a significant lease. The whole operation in terms of that lease and installation of the temporary plant cost us about $1.5 million, but it had to be done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Very, very informative.
Anybody have anything else? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Griffin. Do we need a break before we move into the public hearing, or are we ready just to dive right in?
I'm good.
Dive.
Let's do it. Our next item is public hearings, PB 24-26 Barco Reserve. Seaboard Development Alliance LLC is requesting a preliminary plat special use permit for a 45-lot traditional and conservation subdivision. The property is split zoned, mixed residential MXR, and agriculture AG. The property is owned by Nina S. and Alvin L. Smithson Jr. and is located in Barco on the south side of the intersection of Shortcut Road and Barco Road, tax map 60, parcel 100, Crawford Township. Do I need to swear, Ms. Morgan, do I need to swear everybody in first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all witnesses must be sworn in who are planning on participating.
Okay, because this is an evidentiary hearing, anybody who is going to give testimony needs to come to the front and grab a Bible and be sworn in.
That's even if you're going to speak at the comment portion, correct?
Anybody who's going to give
Okay,
testimony.
comment, yes, okay.
Anybody who's going to give testimony. All right, I still have people coming up.
You might have a couple more.
We can share if we
You can
need
share 'em.
to. I think there's some
It-
back behind
yeah.
you. Okay, if you'll raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God? I do. Okay, thank you. All right.
And Madam Chairman, if you would like for me to elaborate on what type of testimony can be
Should
heard.
I do that before the public comment, or do you want to do that right now?
Probably right now is
Okay.
is best.
All right,
if that's
because
okay
this
with
is
you.
an evidentiary hearing, and the only thing we can consider as a body listening to evidence is the evidence, I am going to turn it over to the county attorney to explain what the board can consider. Thank you.
Yes, of course. So this hearing is a quasi-judicial hearing, which is basically like a court hearing. This board is only required to hear material, substantial, competent evidence. So participation is limited. Everyone is welcome to watch the hearing, but only those who have standing can participate fully. So that would be the local government, that would be the applicant, the property owner, and expert witnesses on information that requires an expert opinion on, which a couple of the review standards do require that. Other individuals who can participate are those who would suffer some kind of special damages, which they would, that's not, that is not the same that the whole community would suffer. I'm sorry, that came out kind of funny. So only those individuals can participate, and only if they have personal knowledge of facts. So individuals who come up and attempt to give opinions on whether property is going to flood or something of that nature, that is something that requires an expert to testify on.
But if they have firsthand knowledge of a property flooding, that is different.
So if they saw property flood yesterday, for example, and they saw that with their own eyes, of course, they can testify to that fact. Yes.
Okay, thank you very
Yes.
much. All right, I will turn it over to Ms. Turner. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. This is a request for a major subdivision approval for property that's located on Shortcut Road. You can see here it's about 3/4 of a mile west of the intersection of Currituck Highway and Shortcut Road, adjacent to or near the intersection of Barco Road and Shortcut Road. That's approximately 95 acres. The property is split zoned, with a portion being mixed residential and a portion being ag. We did look at some of the historical zoning of the property, and on maps back to 1975, on those zoning maps, it had an RA designation, which was low-density residential and ag. And then in '89, it was RA, which was mixed residential. And then with the 2013 UDO update and adoption of the new zoning districts, the transitional provisions showed that MXR, or rather RA properties, may be transitioned to the MXR. So that's why this particular portion of the property has that zoning designation. And you can see it's MXR and ag. The Imagine Currituck 2040 land use plan classifies the site as G1, low density growth, in the Maple Barco sub-area. And that plan allows for a maximum of 1 dwelling unit per acre, so up to 1 dwelling unit per acre. This transect of the land use plan is proposed for compatible low-density rural residential growth. and ultimately the zoning district will control the maximum density. So here's an overview of the proposed site. You can see the yellow line there was my attempt to show you the break between the two zoning districts. That's easier to see here on the screen. So the front portion of the property that's MXR is reviewed as a traditional subdivision, and the back part of the property that is ag is reviewed as a conservation subdivision. Because the parcel is split zoned, it must meet the standards of the ordinance for each district on its own. And so that's how this was reviewed. The subdivisions in ag zoning are required to be conservation subdivisions per the ordinance, and that does require a conservation and development plan to be approved prior to the subdivision application being submitted. And a conservation and development plan was approved, and what that does is lays out open space and development area, identifies significant or environmentally sensitive areas on the map for protection. And so that was done. A copy of that is in your agenda packet on page 59. I did not put a copy here. The actual development pattern is just slightly different. There's some different road angles on this plan versus the conservation plan that was approved. But that plan is not reviewed fully at that time. It's really just to kind of lay out where the lots are going, where the roads are going generally, and where the open space and sensitive areas are that will be protected. The theme of this conservation portion of the subdivision is woodland and farmland preservation. Just zooming in here to the MXR portion, so we can talk about whether this portion meets the ordinance requirements. You can see that this area is 17.46 acres in total. There is a wetland pocket here to the west, 1.93 acres, so a net of 15.53 acres. They're proposing 15 lots on 15.53 acres, which is approximately 0.97 dwelling units per acre, which meets the land use plan as well as the ordinance requirement for this particular zoning district. They're proposing lot sizes of 15,000 square feet, lot widths of 100 feet. Per the ordinance, MXR traditional subdivisions require 30% open space, and this particular property is proposing 54.9% open space in the MXR portion. Moving to the ag, the rear portion of the property that has the ag zoning, it is 77.38 acres with 2.35 acres of wetlands, and you can see that's here to the rear, for a net of 75.03 acres. A proposed density in ag as 0.4 dwelling units per acre may be achieved with 60% open space. Lot size minimums are 30,000 square feet, which these all meet that, and the open space provided is 67.1% in the ag area. The subdivision is proposed to be serviced by county water, individual septic systems. In your agenda packet, the suitable site evaluations from the health department have been provided. Stormwater is proposed to be collected into roadway swales or lot line swales and roadway swales and conveyed to a couple of wet ponds, one being here in the front portion and the MXR portion adjacent to the wetlands here, and one in the rear with an outfall or a discharge into Swains Lane Ditch 3, I believe. The streets will be 50 feet in a 50-foot wide right-of-way per the ordinance requirement. The applicant will be providing street trees in accordance with the landscaping provisions of the ordinance. A streetscape buffer, which is like a major arterial buffer here along Shortcut Road. Shortcut Road is considered a major arterial, and the purpose of that buffer is to maintain the character of that major arterial by screening the new development from view of passing motorists. The conservation subdivision style requires a conservation easement be placed over some portions of open space. So at a minimum, this this wetland area back here will have a conservation easement over it. And the property is adjacent to some active farmland uses, and so a farmland buffer is proposed. You can see the landscaping here of that buffer, a 50-foot buffer. And I'll go back one page so you can see it. It will adjoin the farmland. You can see this line here is the buffer shown here, and over here on this side, the buffer is shown here. The purpose of the buffer is to promote rural character and ensure that new development does not impact existing agricultural uses.
Jenny?
Yes.
While we're talking about the buffer along the Shortcut Road there are plans to widen Shortcut Road. How is that going to affect the current buffer with distance from the back of the houses to that road now when they widen it?
Well, the buffer's required on their property.
What's that?
The buffer's required on the property, on the subject property.
So when
And
the road comes, it could be closer then?
our understanding from the applicant, from DOT, and hopefully they can speak to this, is that the DOT was not looking to acquire more right-of-way in this area. And hopefully they were
Not
able
looking
to
forward
speak.
to it, but they could.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that'll be a question maybe for them on the setback for the buffer and all that stuff. I'll wait till they come up, the applicant.
I have that
The
question.
setback for the buffer?
Setback for where they put like from 158, like you were saying, if there was expansion of, is there from 158 setback from the road? How far back would the buffer, just the one from Shortcut Road 158?
You talking about this buffer here?
Yes.
They're proposing, so that's the property line here. So they're proposing to buffer along
The property line.
the property line. Yeah,
And
between
what's the distance to
From
the,
that
to the road?
um,
Shortcut Road.
45 feet, 60 feet?
well, let's see.
Because that could be. if
It's
DOT decides
probably,
to buy
it could be 45 or 50. This right here should be a 50-foot distance between that setback line and the right-of-way proposed here. So,
So probably
it looks
about
similar,
40 to 60 probably. Mm-hmm. Okay, I just was curious.
yeah.
What level buffer is that on the road?
It's a streetscape buffer.
Okay,
It's the major arterial buffer I was just talking about that
I got you. So it's
tries to shield new development from motorists and protect the major arterial viewshed.
Thank you.
And then there will be sidewalks on both sides of the streets and along the front portion of
There's going to be a
Shortcut Road.
sidewalk along there too?
Yes,
A
Okay.
sidewalk on Shortcut Road?
yeah.
So people can play. So people can play
All
Frogger.
right, that's okay.
We've
Literally.
addressed that.
These are the typical lot layouts for, on the left here is for the MXR portion, on the right for the ag portion of the property. Just a little bit, you can see the different lot size, minimum widths, things like that, but generally the layouts are similar. And you can see the typical proposed roadway section in a 50-foot right-of-way with street trees, swale, and sidewalks on both sides of the new street. I did include the adequate public school facilities update in the agenda packet in the updated staff report for this meeting. We did update the committed capacities through the end of 2024.
So Maple's included with Central now? The Maple development that was approved? The Maple Road?
Ashbrook Estates you're
Yes.
talking about?
Yeah.
The committed yes, it's
That was committed,
it's
okay.
in committed capacity now.
Homes or something.
Yeah.
Farmland.
But that's in
And
that's in that, okay.
Yeah.
And again, remember, committed capacity is a tool that the board can
Or
use to
19%.
talk about phasing and just to understand what may come in at any given time. So I will let the applicant actually speak to this particular provision, but I did include the chart from the staff report here. So the Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan, there's policies that may apply to this request. Some that you're used to seeing, the land use plan policies regarding the future land use map as a guide for decision-making, and should not be the sole basis for land use decisions. Consider community character and establish visions. There's some general northern mainland policies about fostering growth and development while maintaining the distinctive natural environment and rural character. Encourage attractive, vibrant, walkable communities that support a variety of businesses and recreational activities. And there's a policy specific to this area of the county Maple Barco area to encourage growth as a commercial center that supports mainland businesses and Outer Banks tourism. There are policies related to infrastructure and county services, like the goal to ensure that sufficient provision of services to support associated growth and development, continue to enforce the adequate public facilities ordinance. New development shall connect to the county's water system at the expense of the developer. Septic systems and suitable soils are an environmentally acceptable means of treating and dispersing waste from low-density development. There's policy regarding stormwater. Again, to continue enforcement of the adequate public facilities ordinance. Some transportation policies, as well as environmental policies that may apply. And some parks and recreation policies that may apply. As you know, in considering this preliminary plat special use permit request, the special use permit shall be approved on a finding that the applicant demonstrates that the proposed development is in compliance with the ordinance and does not endanger the public health or safety, injure the value of adjoining or abutting lands, and will be in harmony with the area in which it's located and will be in conformity with the land use plan and not exceed the county's ability to provide adequate public school facilities. The TRC did review the application and provides the following comments. One, that the board may attach conditions of approval, including timing limits on building lots to assure adequate public school facilities remain sufficient, and that the application is in compliance with the Unified Development Ordinance. And I'd be happy to answer any additional questions at this time.
Anybody have questions for Ms. Turner?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Jenny, is the sidewalk you're talking about between the landscaping and Shortcut Road?
Yes.
And the reason we're making them do the sidewalk is it's a part of our UDO.
Correct.
But there's no other sidewalks on Shortcut Road.
Not yet.
At least you can see the car coming at you, the buffer won't block it.
Anything else for Ms. Turner?
No.
All right, thank you very much. We will call up the applicant and let them come up with their
Are you gonna
team of
Do they
people.
have, do they have a lawyer?
I want to use the.
I don't know.
Are they being represented by, are they
Okay,
being
I'll just go
represented?
back then.
I guess that would be him right there, maybe.
Oh, maybe so.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Madam Morgan, good to see you again. I'm Johnny Hallow. I'm an attorney with Hornthal, Riley, Ellis, and Mayland, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant. And as an attorney, I plan on doing nothing other than just moving forward with direct examination. I know that you want to be able to hear the witness speak out of this microphone, and you probably want to be able to hear my questions for the record as well. Would it be okay with the board if the two of us stood up here side by side, or is there some other alternative that you wish?
Absolutely, you can both stand up there. We will need your address for the record.
Absolutely. My address is 107 Stonewall Lane in Edenton.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go ahead and just jump straight into the presentation of evidence, and I'd like to go ahead and call my first witness, Mr. Mark Bissell.
Okay.
Mr. Bissell, could you please state your name for the record?
Mark Bissell.
And where are you currently employed, Mr. Bissell?
It's Bissell Professional Group, and we are at 3512 North Currituck Highway in Currituck.
And how long have you been there?
Been there for about, is that particular address?
Just the business in general.
I've been here doing this for about 40 years now.
And what kind of business do you run?
And it's a civil engineering and surveying firm, and we do land planning and site engineering and a lot of projects like you see on the screen.
And what is your role with your particular firm?
And I am the principal civil engineer and
could you briefly describe for the board your educational background?
I have a degree in engineering from Duke University. Go to various continuing education courses over the years.
And how many lots would you estimate that you've played some kind of role in developing here in Currituck County?
They're probably in the thousands.
And have you ever testified as a land use or land development expert in North Carolina?
I have many times.
At this point, I would like to move to designate Mr. Bissell as an expert witness in the field of land use and development.
Thank you. Anyone have any objections?
I do have a question for our county attorney, though. Nothing to do with that. Recently, my company has done work for the Bissell Group at their place of business. I didn't know if that would create any conflict or not.
In my opinion, no, I don't
Yeah, I
think
just
that
wanna
creates a
disclose
conflict.
that, so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, no objections. Proceed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bissell, are you familiar with the Barco Reserve application for preliminary plat special use permit submitted by Seaboard Development Alliance LLC?
Yes, I am.
And are you familiar with Currituck County's development ordinances, including those relating to the issuance of special use permits?
Yes, I am.
Would you please describe for the board your analysis as to whether this proposed project that we're here to discuss today and whether it meets the standards set forth in the special use permit ordinance?
It does, and I can kind of go into the use permit standards one by one if you like, but just let me first just kind of give you an overview. We are proposing 45 lots on almost 95 acres, so a little under 1/2 lot per acre overall. We have open space that exceeds the UDO requirements. We have a density that is in conformance with the UDO and the land use plan. And we are providing, let me move to a different slide here. As Ms. Turner mentioned, we are providing landscape buffers as required by the UDO. We have a streetscape buffer along Shortcut Road. We have farm buffers along both sides. We have street landscaping that's being provided. We have a CBU area here for mail delivery, which is being landscaped as well. The lot sizes all comply with the UDO requirements. We have actually oversized these corner lots. You have a 30,000 square foot minimum. These are actually 40,000 square foot lots in order to accommodate the recently adopted 50-foot setback from the streets, including corner streets. So yes, this is definitely in compliance with the ordinance. I'd like to go through the. You have any other? Should I go ahead and go through the?
Feel free to continue, yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to address the suggested findings of fact for the issuance of the use permit. Obviously, it complies with the UDO, as staff has attested to. And then the other four criteria are the use will not endanger the public health or safety. And stormwater is being managed in accordance, it actually will in excess of the UDO. We are going to be, which requires a 10-year storm event. We're doing an analysis for a 100-year storm event in order to make sure that stormwater is properly managed on the site. The way the site works right now, there's a small amount of water that runs off toward this wetland, so you see a small BMP in that area. The majority of the runoff runs to the south, and there is a major drainage way along this property line. Are you able to see the cursor?
Yep.
Okay. This Swain's ditch along here eventually runs to the south and then turns east and eventually outlets to the sound. So we will be providing a major BMP in this location that will be able to manage that 100-year storm event. And that will discharge that slow release to that existing ditch outlet here.
Can I ask a question about the wet pond?
Yes.
And I understand that you've got two of those, one in the MXR and one in the agriculture. And you said that those are to help manage the runoff from the site. What happens to the water, the stormwater that naturally flows from off the site to this site currently? Does that stop that water from flowing onto the property? That currently flows on the property. The property is very low and very wet, has always been since I've lived here since 1990. What happens to the water that would normally flow onto this site? Is it still going to be flowing onto the site as well?
Well, we'll be intercepting the site generally drains from north to south. And so what we'll be doing is actually cutting off any water that is flowing between here and here will be cut off by these roads and then by this pond. We don't have any plans to regrade this remaining open space part of the site.
So the water that naturally flows from the area around Swains Lane onto this property, when we have a significant rain event, that will still drain to this area as well because you're not adding fill? Correct? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we'll be berming along this part of the site in order to
Right, so,
avoid water from flowing.
right, so their water won't impact this new subdivision and their water won't pool in their yards because it still can drain to this area that it's naturally drained to?
Yes.
Okay.
You said part of this drains to the sound, or did I mishear that?
Eventually does, yes.
And that's where?
The other side of the road.
Completely on the other side. So this,
It's well off the site. Secondly, the health department has evaluated all 45 lots and determined that they are suitable for development. The public water supply is being provided in accordance with the state and county standards. There is water supply available. There's also fire protection that's being designed in accordance with the state standards. Project is being designed in accordance with the Sedimentation Pollution Control Act. And so all of those public health issues are being addressed.
Mr. Bissell, on the map, and I guess y'all are looking at the same one we're looking, that bottom, or right where your arrow was, just down a little bit, that little area, so that's the only part of that property that's wetlands is 2.35 acres?
Right.
If I'm reading that correct?
It's essentially the wood, the areas that haven't been farmed that were left wooded, and those are the ones that were designated as wetlands.
Because it's farmed, like where that pond is, like I said, it's farmed, like currently, that whole little area right there, I guess.
This is, yes, that's all farmland.
Mr. Bissell, will the stormwater from the MXR, I mean, ideally, the stormwater from the MXR, all of that will be contained in this area by that wet pond at the front of the property?
No, some of that will flow to the bigger BMP.
So it will flow between both parts of this through ditches, existing ditches, new ditches?
Through a combination of existing and new ditches. What we'll do at the next stage is an actual computer model, and what we do is determine exactly how much water flows in each direction during the design storm. Okay. And then we will match that so we don't exceed that flow in either direction during the final design. So the majority of the water, it appears that only a small amount of the water heads in that direction.
Okay.
So the majority will likely be going in the other direction.
Yeah, that shows a good image of it.
The next is whether it's compatible and in harmony with the area. And I'll address part of that, the harmony part. The land to the north and south is developed as residential. The land to the east and west along Shortcut Road is developed as residential. The land to the east and west as you move farther into the site is farmland, and that will be buffered. The residential development will be similar to other residential development that's been occurring in the area, and we believe that will be compatible and in harmony with the area. The next one is the land use plan. The project is in conformance with the land use plan. In terms of density, in terms of, it's always been designated over all these years for low-density residential, and that's what's being proposed, again, at less than 1/2 dwelling unit per acre overall. There were a number of land use plan compatibility issues cited in your report. I'll go over a few of those. The Land Use Policy 1.1, which indicates that development should be encouraged to occur at densities appropriate for the location. The Policy 3.1, new development shall connect to the county's water system at the expense of the developer. Policy 3.5, septic systems in suitable soils are an environmentally suitable method, and those have all been approved by the health department. Environmental Policy 1.1, preserving wetlands and buffers, and we are complying with that. Parks and Recreation Policy 2.1, requiring new development to construct pedestrian walkways and multi-use paths to interconnect other developments, and we're complying with those, and quite a few others. But the fourth one is the school capacity, and the staff report in your packet includes a reference to data obtained from the county schools, and they indicate that there is adequate capacity in the Central Elementary School, the Currituck Middle School, and the Currituck High School to accept the number of students that are projected to be generated by this development.
Just out of curiosity, because the committed capacity is over in a couple of the areas, including the elementary schools as well as the high schools, would phasing be something that the applicant would agree to say phase the MXR differently than the ag, to make sure that the schools can adequately prepare for the incoming students in case there's another booming time for building like there has been in the last few years?
We'll have to confer with our client on that.
And he's planning on testifying.
Okay,
So
I'll
I
hold that
could bring him up
question then.
now, or we could circle back at the end of your question.
Whichever is your pleasure. I can circle back to it.
Because the schools are packed.
Okay, go ahead.
Anything else with your
No,
analysis?
but I think that, but I think all, 3.5 of the criteria, or actually 4.5 of the criteria are shown to be met through this testimony. I'd be glad to answer any other questions.
I don't have any other questions for Mr. Bissell, but welcome any further questions from the board to the extent that there are any.
Anybody have questions for Mr. Bissell? No. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. For the next witness, I would like to call Mr. Kim Tate. Sir, could you please state your name for the record?
Kim Tate.
And Mr. Tate, where are you currently employed?
Tate Appraisal Consultation.
And is that your business?
It is.
How long have you had it?
About 30 years.
And what kind of business is it?
It's a real estate appraisal and consulting firm.
And what is your role with that business, specifically to you?
I'm the principal and appraiser and do all the analysis. Anything that goes out of my office goes past me.
And Mr. Tate, can you please state your address for the record?
I was waiting for that. 1093 Water Lily Road, Coinjock, North Carolina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Could you briefly just explain your educational background or any kind of degrees or certificates that may be relevant to your business and the appraisal industry?
Graduate of Virginia Tech. My degree is in urban planning and management. Following that, I went to work at doing assessment work for both the municipalities of Chesapeake and Portsmouth. Following that, I went into independent work, got my designation through the Appraisal Institute, senior residential appraiser, worked with a firm, and then actually got my IAAO, which is the assessment designation for professional appraising. Been involved with the Appraisal Institute on local, regional, and national levels, serving as an officer and a member on multiple boards. Been involved with training younger people to be appraisers and do the standard continuing education that all licensees have to do for various professions within the state of North Carolina.
Madam Chairman, I have a question for the attorney.
Okay, excuse me.
Mr. Tate has appraised my personal property, and he's also appraised some transactions that I've been involved in.
I don't think that presents a conflict.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Tate, have you ever testified as an expert witness in North Carolina?
Yes, numerous times.
What kind of expert did you testify as?
As an appraiser, regarding property values for real estate, I've been an expert witness and been admitted as an expert witness in local courts, state courts, and federal courts, and I've done it both in the states of North Carolina and Virginia.
Excellent. At this point, I'd like to designate Mr. Tate as an expert in the field of appraisals and property impacts, values of property, impacts on property values.
Okay. Any objections? Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Tate, are you familiar with the project that is subject to this this meeting here? The applicant Seaboard Development Alliance LLC and their proposed development here in Currituck County?
I am.
And have you performed any kind of report or analysis with respect to this property?
I've done an analysis regarding this property, particularly regarding the location of its use, is it being in harmony with the area and not having a negative impact on adjacent properties.
And could you just explain that to the board?
Sure. You want me to just take off with it?
Absolutely.
Okay. I was contacted by John Linton with the Pioneer Land Company to take a look at this project. Mark Bissell forwarded the plans to me. I've reviewed the plans, taken a look at them, actually went out and put my eyes on the property, put my boots on the dirt, and kind of looked around. I've lived in Currituck County since the early 90s. I've driven Shortcut Road many a times. Pretty familiar with that situs of that property. A lot of the things that have been brought up about everything about that property I'm familiar with. Looking at the property, I don't need to go back through everything that you've heard about how many lots it is and the density and all that. I think that's been brought up and covered pretty thoroughly by Mr. Bissell. But my job was to take a look at it and see that it was not going to have a negative impact or harmful impact on the valuation or appreciation of any of the properties around it. The best way to do that in the appraisal industry is to take a look at properties that are adjacent to similar developments and see their rates of appreciation over the years and use that match pair analysis to see how that might impact these properties. We went back to about 2012 and moved forward from there and looked at the overall percentages of growth in appreciation and like the annual averages of all of Currituck. And you have to realize when you're dealing with Currituck, Currituck is a rare animal in itself. It's a long, narrow county. It's got different influences. It's got different kinds of development. You've got Moyock, which is experiencing the creep from Hampton Roads coming down. You've got the south end of the county that's getting pressure from the Outer Banks. You kind of have mid-county that is catching it from both sides, and it's catching it from the west as well. All kinds of properties, acreage properties, waterfront properties, factory housing, everything, factory-built housing that's been built. Taking all that into account and looking at it, we took a look at what these annual rates of appreciation were over the period of time from like 2012 to 2024. Then we went out and found sales that had sold and resold adjacent to properties that were being developed much like this. And some of these developments are smaller properties that were being developed adjacent to properties. Some were larger projects like the Waterley area, that's a very big project. So you had different levels of impact, and I felt like by looking at all these trends, we could get a feel for what was happening. We took 12 sales, looked at the initial sale, and looked at the resale, given that period of time, researched that property to determine that they hadn't done any major changes to the property, hadn't added a garage or added a pool or put an addition on, so that we were comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Our determination with those was that the rate of appreciation of these properties that are adjacent to ongoing developments fell right in line and bracketed the annual average appreciation rate across the county on a straight line basis. Beyond that, we took a look at Holly Ridge, which is up off of Guinea Road. There are houses that were sold and resold in the period of time that the Gables was being developed right adjacent to it. Took a look at that to see if that had any negative impact. And our findings with that was there was no impact. In fact, the properties in Holly Ridge relatively appreciated at the same rate that the rest of the other properties did in Moyock. We also took the opportunity to go out and talk to individuals in the market, realtors, developers, builders, to see what their thoughts were. And by and large, the consensus is that good development promotes healthy values all the way across the board, particularly if the properties that are coming in are done in a very responsible, respectful way to the property that's around it. This property has really low density and good buffering. It's in an area that does not have a lot of adjacent development that's going to impact it, but it's also it encompasses the kind of the feel of Currituck. It's not overly developed, they're not packed in tight, and there's plenty of buffer adjacent to this that will provide kind of that Currituck feel that everybody's looking for. Good development, in my opinion, based on the information I've done, the analysis I've done, is it tends to support adjacent development and tends to support or promote appreciation rates relative to everything else. In my opinion, that the way this has been presented and proposed, that it will not have a negative impact on any of the adjacent properties from the perspective of real estate value.
So I do have a question. So then what you're saying is those two properties that are on the east and west side of that on Shortcut Road, you're stating that they would have a positive impact instead of a negative impact on those two homes right there?
I believe so. And relative to
So
that.
you've looked into those two homes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I've kind of looked at everything around there. And I looked all up and down Shortcut Road. I even looked up Barco Road because, that's a subdivision that's going to have, there's going to be some impacts all the way around that area from one way or another.
Because I'm looking at, there looks like there's a deceleration lane, and I can't tell how close to that property that's going to be. I didn't know if deceleration lanes have an effect on if they're getting kind of close to somebody's front door there.
But they're also on Currituck Highway, which
correct. But
Shortcut Road, which carries a lot of traffic
right.
anyway. Those cars would be slowing down. I don't know that.
So they don't have impacts on.
I don't have any evidence to prove that would be a negative impact. In fact, slow cars probably would not be a bad thing along Shortcut Road.
Like far as this development, what is the I know the lots are, a little over a half an acre. What are they looking at? And I know it's probably market trend, but what's like the square footage of a home? Are they looking at like a 1,500 square foot or a 20, or is that something like they don't even know as far as yet?
I would have
That'd be a question to maybe them.
Yeah. the
About
developer.
that,
Okay, I was just curious.
And I do not have any other questions for Mr. Tate. So
I have
for-
a question for Mr. Tate. The houses that are there at the back of the property, that would be the south side of the property that
would
are
be
there
along
by.
Swains Lane.
Right. Did you assess whether they would be positively or negatively impacted by this?
I think they would not be negatively impacted. Most likely, they'd be positively impacted. By and large, this development will have a pricing point that will probably enhance all the properties around it because it's going to be newer housing stock, and people who may not be getting into this subdivision will be looking at adjacent properties. It's not like it's carrying any traffic in through that neighborhood that would have an impact on it. Mr. Bissell and you have had a discussion about the drainage issues. It seems like that, I can't really speak to that because that's outside of my wheelhouse.
Right. Okay.
I think that there's enough buffer there that that's really not going to have a negative impact.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have questions for Mr. Tate?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to phrase it. So the analysis is, rising tide lifts all ships when it comes to property values. The fact that there's high power transmission lines running through this development between the MXR and the ag, would that not hurt the property values of the soon-to-be lots, which would negatively impact areas around it? So did you do analysis of subdivisions that are split in half by high transmission power lines?
No, I did not do that. However, my job in this was to determine if it had a negative impact on adjacent values of other properties. Those properties adjacent to are already impacted by those power lines. Those power lines are there.
Correct, but by creating lots out of that, if the average lot cost went down, what is your expert opinion on the adjacent lots?
I think that it probably would not have an impact because any lot that's probably adjacent to Shortcut Road is going to command a lesser premium than anything that's not along Shortcut Road. A lot of those MXR lots will be backing up to Shortcut Road.
But if we're talking about the stuff on Swains Lane or Barco Road, those aren't, those aren't directly impacted by the power lines, whereas the lots in the subdivision would be if those lots were not as valuable as other lots because of the power lines. Would that not have an impact? Or could it not have an impact?
I don't think there's evidence to prove that it would have an impact because I think that someone who is buying a lot along Barco Road or somebody who is buying a lot along Swains Lane is probably not going to be in the same market segment as somebody who's buying inside this subdivision. And in terms of comparison, you're probably not going to use a comparable off of one of those locations to compare to these houses. Once again, apples and apples and oranges and oranges.
But isn't that what you just did, though?
I did. I looked at properties that were adjacent to other developments to see if the development would have a negative impact, and there was none.
Okay.
All right, anything else for Mr. Tate? All right, thank you, Mr. Tate.
I'll now call John Linton. Can you please state your name for the record, sir?
John Linton.
And I'm going to get it right this time. Can you give your address for the record?
Yes. My personal address is 4056 Powhatan Secondary, Williamsburg, Virginia. Seaboard Development's physical address is 1082 Harvey Point Drive in Perquimans County.
And what is your affiliation with Seaboard Development Alliance?
I'm the manager.
Okay. And as the manager, are you familiar with this Barker Reserve project that we're here discussing today?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell me about some of the concerns that you and I talked about earlier involving the DOT and the possible expansion of Highway 158? Could you kind of follow up on some of those concerns that were asked earlier on?
Yeah, and please, I'm happy to take any questions if you want more detailed answers. With regard to NCDOT, I've had off and on conversations for about a year and a half with their office in Elizabeth City. And it's hard to gauge exactly where that road is going to go because they're still looking at the intersection of Barco Road onto Shortcut and determining what type of intersection that's going to be, a left in, a light, They really haven't come to terms with what that's going to look like. And until they do, we're not exactly sure where that future expansion is going to be. So all I can tell you is that it's an ongoing and under review with them. But in talking with Caitlin Spear, she said that they anticipate, because of that intersection, that the widening will be on the other side of the road, and they'll try not to impact the side that we're on because of the existing homes and that future intersection.
And did they, I know with one concept we looked at with DOT, when they expanded Shortcut Road, they were going to have a medium in between the two and with a type of turnaround. And that would even take on more
Like a roundabout?
footage. So, I mean, is that what you were discussing with them, that type of a?
Yeah, we talked about a left out concept where you're going left from Shortcut onto Barco
Right,
Road.
and then you then need to turn around. And
That's
yes,
right. And so that was my question to them is if you do have that median that comes through the
Yes.
center of that road, where is the taking going to be? And they said they typically try to avoid taking, property of individual homes. And so they'd be looking at going on the other side of the road there. That would have less impact. But again, it's all kind of up in the air right now until they determine exactly what that intersection is going to look like.
So if that went on the other side of the road with a restricted access median or whatever, these houses, lots 1 through 7 specifically, they would not be impacted by that widening? Is that what they're most likely?
It's hard to define what impact means. I think when that road goes in, whether it's being widened or not, they will be impacted by a widened road, either positively or negatively. So I don't want to say that there won't be an impact. But based on my conversations with Ms. Spear, I anticipate that the impact will be minimized because of that intersection will be shifting toward the other side of the road.
And the intersection you're speaking of is there at Barco Road? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, there's a decel lane proposed coming into the subdivision. Does that, and I think you asked this question, Commissioner Payment, does that decel lane start in front of the existing, or are we not that far yet?
Yeah, I hesitate to answer that question because of my conversations with Ms. Spear.
Mm-hmm.
She has said that when they do create that future intersection, they would prefer not to have a decel lane there for maintenance reasons and for safety reasons when they design that road. And so there might be a balancing of interest between Currituck County's ordinance to require that deceleration lane and NCDOT's interest in making a safe intersection that conforms what they want to do. So I think that issue of the deceleration lane is up in the air, and it's going to be a discussion between NCDOT and Currituck County.
Okay, all right. Can I ask you a question about the utilities that was brought up?
Yes, please.
So the existing power line infrastructure runs right between the MXR and the agriculture, correct?
Yes.
Are there any plans to change how that looks, to change the aesthetics of those big obtrusive structures?
Yes. And this goes to your question as well. If you go a little further south down Shortcut Road, you can see a little small subdivision. It's only about 6 homes or so, but it's also bisected by that power line. So we took a close look at those homes, and they're nice homes. It's a good neighborhood. And they have chosen to have those lots go over property lines. And we didn't want to do that because our intent is to amenitize that to the degree that we can based on the easement that we'd have to work with on Dominion. But in other projects that I've personally worked on, we've seen, bike paths or other pocket parks, dog parks so the community can use that rather than it going over someone's property. So I think that minimizes the impact on the property values and also takes that space and allows it to be kind of a connective place for the community.
So make something nice on the ground so people don't see it.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we want
notice
them looking down, not up.
Okay, all right.
The subdivision that you're referencing, is that the one with the 10-acre lots? South?
Yes, it's south, but in driving through it, if they're 10-acre lots, it's deceiving to the eye because they look like about acre lots. If they're 10-acre lots, they must have a lot of property behind it.
A lot of property behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. He's talking about on the main highway.
So since you brought up amenities, besides the walking paths, the sidewalks that the county requires, what amenities are planned? I mean, I know this is just the initial special use part, but what amenities are planned? I mean, we would, want to see people who want to live here, not just drop their head and live somewhere else with
Sure.
all their free time.
Yeah, our intent, again, we've discussed where the power line is, having a bike. I don't want to say like a dirt bike kind of ramp area, but a safe bike, a safe path where kids can ride their bikes, maybe a dog park on the other side of that. Aside from those two things, we want to create what we call pocket parks, places where little community gathering places. There might be where you could meet with your neighbors on an acre or so. And you'll see that as you go toward in the ag zone, toward the open space. Okay. There's an easement there where we can have a functional park like that. And then as you've seen, staff did a great job breaking down the open space and showing how far we exceed that. Some of that open space, especially in the ag, is probably going to be left alone, but that open space in the MXR, and as you approach the open space behind the ag zone, is going to have a lot of areas for open space.
Mm-hmm. Will the farmland continue to be farmed, or will it be left fallow?
That's still up in the air. Okay. I think we'd prefer to see it farmed, but we'll have to see what people want to do with that acreage. And a lot of it depends on the pond area and just the practicality of wanting to farm that.
And are you open to phasing this?
Yeah, that's a good question. When you asked it, I think it's related to the schools issue. And we brought this plan in individual meetings in front of some of you a while ago. And if you remember, our original plan had 62 units on it. And for several reasons, we didn't want to have to do a rezone. We wanted to go specifically by the UDO. But also we looked at that school ratio. And by dropping our count from 62 to 45, that really lowered our impact on the schools. I suggested to our attorney that we just handle it in the CC&Rs. We make a timing and number requirement for all the residents with regard to their children and when they have them and how often. He said it was illegal, so we're not going to do that. But
good job taking his advice.
Yeah, I thought it was a good idea. Get rid of a lot of problems, but policing would have been an issue. With phasing, for us, the answer is our return on investment, meaning how quickly can we sell these homes? And so we've looked a lot into that question. And what we've determined is it's probably about one home per month. So it's about a 4-year project. So my answer to the phasing question is I think the market will guide that. And as best we can tell, we'd like it personally for our return to go faster than one a month. But that's what we anticipate. And that's what we've seen in other projects in this area is about one sale per month. So when you said that, it triggered in my head that I think it's going to naturally phase, especially as the community itself starts off in that MXR zone, and we're going to build that first and hold off. And this is just for our own interest. We'll just want to build that first MXR area, wait till they sell through some of those, then build the next section. So I think that phasing will happen naturally.
Okay.
But if the market drives it and people are demanding places, then it is possible that you could do 2 or 3 a month.
Yes, sir. That is possible.
Possible, okay.
Right.
Are you the builder as well as the developer?
No, ma'am. We're just a developer.
And do you have a builder in mind?
Yes, we do, but we're not under contract. We're negotiating with a few at this time.
And I know when I met earlier, if this is a national builder, if that's indeed
that's right,
what we bring in, they build more than one a month. We've seen that in the northern end, mm-hmm. And I think having the assurance that we won't build 45 homes in 12 months is comforting, knowing that we are not going to inundate our schools like we've let happen in the northern end, because we can't afford that. We're building a $60 million elementary school on the backs of our taxpayers.
Sure.
And we can't afford that again.
My response to that question is, when the national builders, they call it a velocity, how quickly they can build through a development, mm-hmm. requires multiple product types. You're pulling in people that can afford a $220,000 townhome and people that can afford a $800,000 single family home. And Where you get a high velocity of those monthly sales is when you have a lot of different product types. This development isn't one of those. It is just one product type, single family home. And this goes to your question about square footage. Probably 1,800 to 2,200 square foot single family homes.
Both sections?
Yes, ma'am. So and I can't, that may change a little bit, but what you're obviously not going to see is townhomes, duplexes, small villa lots. Those are the product types that sell at a much faster clip than just a single family home.
I just don't see that. I mean, because Currituck right now with our tax rates and the schools, we get a lot. My heating air conditioning business, I talk to a lot of people that come down here.
Yeah.
And they tell me they're moving down here because they can buy the same size house for less money.
Yes, sir.
Better schools, and they're flooding down here. They're looking left and right. So I can see if this opens up, you're going to have a big demand. And you're not going to be building one a month. So you're going to build more than one a month. I can see that.
Because the size you're talking about is ideal.
High demand.
That's the sweet spot that people are looking for. They're not looking for 3,500 square foot houses in a subdivision. They're looking for 18 to 2,200. That's the sweet spot.
Or
And,
1,500.
It's a concern that if you bring in a national builder, you say you're only going to build one a month, but if the market gets hot again, and if we had a crystal ball, we'd all be billionaires. But it's concerning that you have the capability to build considerably more than one a month when you're talking about a national builder, as we've seen in the northern end.
Yeah, just a point of data, we've constructed a development that's a little further south in Camden County with 1 acre lots, and the homes that are going on there, you can look at them right now, they're 1,800 to 2,200 square foot lots. And since October, we've sold 5 of those. So that's the clip I'm seeing further south. It might be a little faster up here, but it's hard to say exactly what that's going to be. A lot of the contracts that we'll make with the home builder, they'll contract to buy a certain number per quarter. And what we're looking at right now is 4 per quarter. But like you said, it's a market-based decision. And when it comes to phasing, it's hard to know exactly how that phasing looks. If there's a government regulation imposed on that marketplace, I don't know how that would work if we come to the commissioners to ask permission to sell 2 per month or 3 per month. I don't know how that would be policed other than the market.
What's your ultimate, if this was approved, what's your ultimate, like there's 45 homes. I mean, obviously you have to do infrastructure, you have to do a bunch of stuff. Is this a 5-year plan? What's your, ballpark off the top of your head?
Our ballpark is about a 4-year plan after our construction. From this point, at least 4 years, because we think the contract that we're going to have with the home builder will be about 4 homes per quarter, 3 to 4 homes per quarter. And
so like the first occupancy of a home, it's what, February 25? What are you looking at, like spring of 26?
Yeah. And obviously, it's in our own self-interest to go as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's a reasonable estimation.
Yes, if you can accelerate it, you will, because you
That's
sell
right.
homes faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think affordable homes in that area will go quicker than 4 a year.
4 per quarter. Yeah.
Quicker than 4 per quarter.
If you're looking at 16 a year, that's 3 years.
In a year of infrastructure.
So you're saying 4, but if you're building 4 a quarter, guess my math is good. I
Used to
taught
be a math
social
teacher.
studies.
You're good.
Did that 1 year.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at 16 a year, then that's basically 3 years.
3 years.
Right. We also haven't turned any dirt yet. So
So
we're
1 year to
counting
So a
in
year to,
our time to construct it,
Right,
their
okay.
time to construct the homes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
Can I ask one question about the sidewalk?
Sure.
Our intent with this was to conform precisely to the UDO, to not deviate anything from it. We'd be more than happy not to do a sidewalk and replace it with landscaping that would be a buffer. I'll just throw that out there. We'll build the sidewalk if you want us to. If not, we'd be very happy to replace that with landscaping.
We'd have to change the UDO, correct, if we wanted to do that?
right
and
now,
We're
Yes, that's
not
right.
able to do that tonight.
Not tonight.
Not that special of a
No.
special use.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of concerns within the county about sidewalks going nowhere.
I've got young kids, and I wouldn't put them on that sidewalk
No,
until it connects
not
to
on the
something.
highway.
I do have a question though. So let's hypothetically everything gets approved, and then in 6 months we change that UDO. We text them in the UDO about the sidewalks to nowhere. Can they take advantage of that at that time, or because it's platted and everything, is it set in stone and
It
not
would
changeable?
be, it would be what was in effect at the time, which would be the sidewalks.
Could the text amendment handle currently what's in effect? You know?
They'd have to come back
If you like
before us.
retroactively, I mean, I guess you could retroactively.
Or like say, hey,
make it effective.
you know, a sidewalk or other approved, you know, barriers in place of a sidewalk in lieu of a sidewalk for, you know, previously plotted things.
No, they would have to amend anything that's been recorded, that would have to be amended.
They'd have to amend the whole plat.
That's right.
Before, yeah, it'd be redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
it
like you
would
said,
be a
I wouldn't put
process.
somebody I didn't like on that sidewalk. You know what I'm
Right.
saying, on Shortcut Road.
Right.
Mr. Luton, will there be two HOAs, or will it all be one HOA? Okay. And I know when we met the first time, there was some concern, lots 1 through 7. The highway actually will be looking at their backyard, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it won't be
And-
their front yard.
And so will there be landscaping would the landscaping come before the homes? I guess that's my question.
Yes.
Okay.
And that goes to my question about the sidewalk.
Right.
Because it's in our best interest to create the best buffer we can so those lots sell.
Right.
Yeah.
Because nobody's
That's
going
a
to climb
problem for
through
another day.
Nobody's going to climb through the buffer to go like, but I mean.
Well, I mean, people don't want others looking in their backyard, I imagine. That's why I'm asking the question about the buffer.
The buffer.
Yeah.
Also
Because
driving down a road and looking at the back of 7 houses, which are, no offense, but generally
Not as good
vinyl
as the front.
siding and flat and, you know.
that was a concern, I know that so the buffer will come before the houses, even if
Yes,
it's
our
not the
intent
buffer you desire?
Yes. Well, our intent is when we're developing those roads, that we develop the buffer at the same time
Okay,
for selfish reasons, so that the lots will sell more quickly.
sure, okay. Anyone else have any other questions? All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank y'all. That's all the evidence that I have.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
This is a public hearing, so at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing, and I have Mr. Luton. I'm sure you don't want to come back up, right? You signed up here. You're done talking?
Unless you want me to come back.
No, I'm good. I'm asking you. The first person I have signed up is Robert Swain. If you will come up and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Robert Swain. I live at 249 Swains Lane. And I emailed all y'all earlier. I don't know if y'all received copies of the emails. But
I did not.
see, let me start off saying I'm the last person who wants to be up here talking about telling people what they should do with their property. I think you should be able to do whatever you want to. I've lived on Swains Lane for 46 years. My father lived there before that. His father lived there before that. Back when the roads was dirt, we never had no flooding issues. As soon as the roads were paved, they come through there, they redug the ditches. We've had flooding issues ever since. This housing development, they're talking about turning the water into Swains Lane's ditch, and Mr. Bissell claims that that ditch goes all the way to the sound. That ditch crosses Swains Lane and goes about 100 yards and stops. That ditch does not go all the way to the sound. On the pictures that I sent you, it's the elevation. You can clearly see it's 7 foot where they're at. It's 7 foot on the other side of Swains Lane. It's 4 foot at the swamp or at the sound. Common sense says push the water towards the sound, not towards level ground. That's just, I don't understand why that is. I got everybody that lives up Swains Lane, everybody signed the petition. Everybody has problems with water. this buffer zone that they have, they're still going to be, they can't even plant crops up against Swains Lane right now because of all the water that's been dumped from years previous. So there's already a buffer zone where the farmers can't even plant. So they're going to raise the lots up, according to them, by about 2 foot, and then leave everything else at level. They're going to raise it up by 2 foot. That's going to push more water back on us. Everything's coming to Swains Lane. It doesn't need to come to the swamp. It needs to go to the sound, not when everything's level.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but I just want to remind the board that you can consider testimony that he is providing from his own personal knowledge, but anything that may or may not happen, that would be more of an expert, would require an expert opinion. So I just want to caution you there.
And the signed petitions, because.
That's hearsay.
That's okay.
What is?
What's
She's saying the signed petition
The
would be
signed
hearsay, but like
petition,
far
any
as,
kind of written document or statement that's made out of this hearing is considered hearsay and is something that I would advise the board not to consider in making this decision, as it is evidentiary.
Why would that be hearsay? If I went around and got a petition and got everybody's name and address, why would that be hearsay evidence?
I think what she's saying, Mr. Swain, respectfully, is because they are not in this hearing right now, they cannot.
There's a few of them here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they aren't all here and that's not generated in this actual hearing, it's not something we can consider because we can only consider what is here in this room.
What good is a petition if
like she's saying, if everybody that signed it was here and they, like, you can testify to what you see because you've lived there.
Purpose of signing it if they're going to be here? A lot of people can't come here. A lot of people got lives. So a lot of people, they just can't get here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're just bound by those rules of evidence.
So my question though is about the ditch that you said kind of teeters out 100 foot. Where exactly does that ditch stop and where is it supposed to go, I guess?
If you can pull it up on the map that I gave you.
You've actually seen it.
He lives there.
Okay.
Let's see.
What?
County manager, when they talked about earlier, ditch 3 on Swains Lane, is that the one? Is that the one that is down, or maybe that's a?
It's the one that connects to the wooded lot out beside the highway. On the shortcut road where they're talking about building a little pond. If we could pull it back up, I could show y'all on here. But
Talking like
Have the aerial?
page 10.
yeah, that's fine.
Look at map 10 shows.
It's right here. It's down
Oh.
up there. Well, that one would work. There it is.
Yeah.
Which page is it, Jenny?
10.
If you want to.
Page 10.
10,
Oh,
Kevin,
okay,
on
thank you. I'll
top.
try. Thank you. All right, this right here, they're going to turn the water into this ditch right here along the buffer line. And they say this ditch, it comes through here, right here. And then it peters out about right there. It doesn't go very far in there. And all this is swamp, all this is wetlands. But you can see on the elevation survey that I sent everybody, it's 7 foot here, and it's 7 foot here. It's 4 foot here, and it's 4 foot here, and it's 7 foot here. Common sense, before the road was 4 lane, there used to be a culvert underneath the 4 lane. State Department denies it. They say there was never a culvert there. My father played in that culvert all the time growing up. The water can't go that way now. There could be pump stations installed, if anything. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be allowed to build here. That's the last thing I want to say, you know what I mean? Because the growth is going to happen. People are going to do, we can't stop it. But we've got to take a look around and realize that the beauty of this county, the sportsman's paradise, it ain't a sportsman's paradise no more. And it's going to keep going, but I just ask that y'all do an in-depth water survey and see where this water is going. Anybody can clearly ride down Swains Lane and see all the water all the time in any of the yards. Mr. Tate said he said he guessed about Swains Lane. He said he didn't even go down Swains Lane. He was looking at other parts and guessing, all right? That's not a way to do business. You know, you need to be sure 100%. There's no doubt that the water's there. It's just common sense, and just thank y'all for letting me speak.
How often does your property flood? Just out of curiosity.
About 365 days a year. My house burnt down in 2017, and I had to put in over 30 loads of dirt just to help bring it back up. So this is it's an ongoing issue. You know what I mean? And the only time it was dry was last year when we had the drought. You know what I mean? Besides that, the ditches stay full, the yards stay full. You can't walk in the backyards.
I do work. I do a lot of work down Swains Lane. It's like walking on sponge. And
It's you know, and they're going to do septics. You know, and this is a whole nother can of worms. But that's just going to put more septic. Where does that go? That goes in the ground. Rainwater, flood water comes towards us. They already dump. They've been dumping sewage at the backside of Swains Lane, not even a mile from this place, since the early 90s. Tractor trailer loads.
Bubby, if you would, mark this with the clicker, mark the spray fields. I'm looking, I know where your lot is. I'm trying, like, the spray fields are right.
Just the right here.
Okay, that's
They
what I
start
thought.
right here. Yeah, they're like right in here is where it is. All the fields that are in the back, you can't really see it from the aerial from this one, but all these fields that are at the backside of Swains Lane are used for dumping sewage. So it's just it's an ongoing health problem. It's just, it's an issue. Just, and I don't want to tell nobody they can't build no houses, but everything should be done responsibly and 100%, and not just guessing that the water's not going to go this or it's going to affect the values of our house. It's already affected the values of our house. You know what I mean? If somebody comes up there, ain't nobody's going to want to buy one of them houses and you can't even walk in the backyard, So, and that's all I got to say. So, thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Swain. The next person I have signed up is Johnny Hollow.
Hey, I was the attorney. I just signed in just to be safe.
All right, thank you.
Oh, okay.
And then the last person I have signed up is Harvey Roberts.
My name is Harvey Roberts. I live at 489 North Uniontown Road, Shawboro. I consider myself an expert. I was born in 1953. I'm 72 years old. I've been farming 53 years. I hold an elected position. I'm a Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor. I'm elected by the people. I take the same oath of office as the county commissioners. Do y'all recognize me as an elected official?
Yes, sir.
You're lucky.
Okay. I want to do some rebuttal to Mr. Swain. I started lifelong resident of Currituck County. I'm very familiar with a lot of areas in the county. And do you remember George Sanderlin?
Is he talking to us or the?
Didn't George Sanderlin own some land way back in Swains Lane?
Mr. Larry did.
Yeah. I started going back there planting soybeans for Mr. Sanderlin in about 1974 and 1975. So I'm very familiar with Swains Lane, the farming and water. Mr. Swain here says the outlet goes toward 168. That's not right. You know where the fox pen is?
Yeah, it only goes about 100 yards on the other side of Swains Lane.
The fox pen, there's two ditches that go into the swamp. One of the ditches, kind of by the fox pen, goes all the way out to North River. Did you know that?
No, it does not.
Yes, it does.
I don't mean to interrupt, but
That's hearsay.
it also, commissioners, again, participation is limited. Only parties with standing can participate fully, meaning that they suffer some kind of special damages. Meaning that they would suffer some kind of special damages that is distinct from the community as a whole. So that does not give Mr. Roberts the right to question witnesses, just to testify to facts that he has personal knowledge of.
I'd like to finish my statement. Currituck County Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisors, anytime there's a state or federal declaration of flooding, we get money. Over the last 5 years, we've probably gotten close to $300,000. I don't know the exact date right now, but I can get it for you. Currituck County used approximately $30,000 to take out 40 beaver dams from Swains Lane to North River. I've been in by boat on both ways. I went in there on both ways. I have proof, I have photographs. We took out 40 beaver dams. Mr. Smithson paid approximately $10,000 out of his own pocket to get rid of the beaver dams to help the flooding for the people on Swains Lane. You want to give me a Bible to swear on? I've been there. I know where it is. I can prove Currituck County spent the money.
Let him finish.
Mr. Smithson spent $10,000 of his own money. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, thank you, thank you
Okay.
very much. All right, is there anybody who didn't get to sign up? If you'll come up and state your name, and remember, we can only,
You gotta get sworn in.
did you get sworn in?
No, I didn't know the
Okay,
process.
if you'll grab a Bible real quick, let me swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you'll give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. State your name and address, please.
My name is Valerie Ashbury. I live at 135 North Swains Lane, which if the other map was pulled up, I could show you exactly. I am going to be directly affected by this. And I came here I wasn't going to speak because I thought the answers would come from Mr. Bissell and the appraiser, but they didn't really answer everything as far as how it's not going to affect us. Right now, I invite any of you to come down North Swains. We are under about 1 inch of water in my front yard, and my back probably has about 4 inches of water standing right now. That's how it is all the time. The only time we didn't see that is during the summer this year when it got really, really dry, but you could still walk and you were spongy. Now, when Mr. Bizzle's survey crew came out, they were in full waders, walking through that side land where they said that's going to be the wetlands. That's right beside me. So they're in full waders walking in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
That goes to tell you there is a lot of water. All that water comes back to us. That farmland that they're not going to farm, where that big pond is, they're going to put in the back, they're not doing that to save land. It can't be farmed. You can't do anything. They are proposing to put a little park right in front of my house, directly in front of my land, is where they have on my paper, which was on the website when you all first sent out the letters for standing. I came down and got a copy. There's a little square right there that says it's going to be like a little park area. The reason they're not going to do anything, it's soaking wet. You go out there right now with knee-high boots, you're losing your boots. The moment you stand in the muck, you're going down. So I don't understand if they're putting septic and you're going to build these houses, where's all that water going? We got 10-foot ditches right now. In front of my house, there's a 10-foot ditch. I can stand completely encased in water in it. It never goes dry. So if you build, all that's coming back to us in triple time, 10 times more water towards us. We're going to lose all value in our property. We're not going to be able to use our property. When we have substantial rain, the main Swains Lane, it floods. School buses can't come down there because we have a river going over the road. And it's a moving river. You can stand there with your boots on. I have pictures of it. Just flowing right past you. Mail doesn't come because they can't get down the road. We have so much water, and they're not taking that into consideration. I know the appraiser said he looked at the houses on Shortcut. Well, if you didn't come to us, we are the ones affected. Our property value is affected. And I know it might only be 19 of us or 13 of us back there, but it's our property. It's what we invested in. It's where we want to live. Mr. Swain's been there his whole life, and they're going to completely ruin it. We don't care that housing is going to go there. I understand people need houses. We just want to ensure that we're not going to lose our value in land and be completely flooded out. We already have issues. Talking about that culvert that they're talking about that is right near Mr. Swain's Lane, it's nothing. It's this big of a pipe that has never been cleaned out. I've been on Department of Transportation, but for so many years, and gone back there with them, and there's nothing we can do. It's about a 4-inch pipe, this big. And on either side, you got water just standing everywhere in those ditches. So I just before you guys make a decision, please drive down there if you've never been and look at our lands and know how affected we're gonna be by this. That's all. I just really hope you all take some consideration on the people who have lived there for a long time.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? If not, I will close the public hearing.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
Public comment?
Yes, the public comment.
Oh, the public.
I'm sorry, I would close the public comment.
All right, yeah.
Okay, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, there's just one comment I'd like to make regarding drainage. Right now, you have, what happens is the water essentially runs off the site unrestricted. And, post-development, what the runoff will be restricted in a big way. So what you will actually see is not just less water, but considerably less water flowing off the site post-development than flows off the site now. I'm not saying it will solve all these people's problems, because obviously they've got a long-term problem that needs, more than this project to solve. But what I am saying is that the water that's flowing off of this site after development will be less than it is now.
So you're saying that the water that is on there now will be less likely to go to Swains Lane because it's going to be held in the wet ponds?
It'll
Is that
be
what
held
you're?
in slow release, that's right.
Okay.
Not only the 10-year storm, but the 100-year storm event.
Okay.
I know you are an engineer. Are you a stormwater engineer? Like, I know there's different types of engineers. Or did we have a stormwater engineer to design a plan?
We will have a stormwater engineer involved in doing the modeling as part of the construction
That we have to approve.
drawing stage.
And those plans will
I
also
have
be
knowledge of
reviewed?
stormwater. It's not my specialty. It's one of the areas in which I do practice, though. But we will have somebody who whose primary focus is stormwater at the next stage.
And that stormwater plan will also be reviewed by the engineering firm that we contract with as well, correct?
So it'll be reviewed by McAdams. It'll also be reviewed.
Okay. All right.
Can you go into detail on the ditches, on the plans that you have drawn up, exactly where the main limbs of the ditches are going to be and what water should be corralled from those? Is that possible?
I'm not sure I follow. I'm not sure I understand the question.
The ditches and you've got ditches laid out in the plan, correct?
Which page?
There. There's light blue lines somewhere. Hold on.
We have done a tentative grading plan. I'm not seeing it in here in the.
What I'm looking at says
On a
Bissell
slide.
Group on it. So, no, it's not that one.
I think it's further down the slide. the
Yeah.
pages. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it's in the agenda
In the
packet.
packet, not on the PowerPoint.
Jenny, it's on slide 19.
Of the agenda packet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just happened.
PDF.
Did we just lose the internet?
I didn't.
Mine's gone.
Did you pay the bill?
Yesterday. Yeah.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, it's on 19 now.
So those blue lines are those the swells or are those, or what? That would be catching water. Correct?
Are you talking about these arrows? Yeah, that's the general flow direction of stormwater.
One of them's labeled collector swell. So that's the light blue dash line, or the dark blue dash line. This is Duke blue. Come on.
Right, okay,
You
right
should be able to pick that one out of a crowd. Those are the swells.
Yes, those would be collector swales. They'll convey water from the streets and the lots to the stormwater BMPs.
And then we're going to the east or west side of the property and using the existing ditch to push water down to where the BMP is going to be, correct?
No.
What is the outlet structure?
The outlet structure is right here.
Okay, where's it? What water is it outletting?
And it outlets it slowly releases the water after it's been stored in the pond.
Okay.
So
So it's
in
an
other
outlet
words-
for
so
the
in other
pond,
words,
not an outlet for the ditch.
Exactly. So in other
And
words,
then that
so
ditch-
the water that comes out of that structure will feed, some
It-
water into that ditch, but less than what goes into the ditch in nature, under current conditions, I should say.
Do you know what the flow rate is through that drainage pipe from the pond, roughly?
I don't know.
Okay,
At
okay,
this
that's
stage
fine,
of it.
okay.
No,
No,
we
that's good.
we haven't gotten that
I
far.
know. I just didn't know if you knew or not. Okay, you're good enough, yep.
And then that ditch then feeds south to Swain Road or Lane or
Ditch,
whatever, whichever form of street we use. And you said that goes out to the sound.
Right.
Okay.
It goes, there's a wetland in there between the ditch and the sound, but then there's an outlet from the wetland to the sound.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you. Ms. Turner? I've closed, I'm sorry, I've already closed the public comment. All right, so I guess I will open the floor for discussion.
Can we take a recess?
Yeah.
Want to take a recess?
Break.
Let's do. Let's take about 5
minutes.
minutes, good? 5 minutes recess till 8:25. I'm going to call us back to order, please. Yes. That's okay. Okay. All right, so I will open the floor for discussion or a motion
From the board, yep.
at this time.
Do they do their closing statements, all that stuff?
Well, yeah, Mr. Bissell came up.
Okay.
I'm assuming that was it.
Well, I have no more discussion items.
Anyone have any questions or comments? If not, I will take
Can
a
we-
motion.
Go ahead, ask what you're gonna ask.
Can we clarify the ditch situation? So, well, never mind. I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, hearing no motion, then I will move to deny PB 2426 Barco Reserve Subdivision Preliminary Plat Special Use Permit because the applicant has not demonstrated the proposed use meets the review standards of the UDO. The standards were not met to ensure that the user will endanger the public health and safety. This mainly deals with the stormwater inconsistencies. 2, that it will injure the value of adjoining or abutting lands. 3, it's not in conformity with the imagined Currituck 2040 vision plan, specifically land use 1.3. And I will read that off. Consider community character and establish visions for the county. 1.4, protect the uniqueness of the county through preservation of farmland, wooded areas, open space, and water views from walkways and other public spaces. Infrastructure and county service, goal 1. Ensure sufficient provisions of services to support associated growth and development and continue to enforce the adequate public facilities ordinance. Infrastructure and county service goals policy 7.2. Continue enforcement of adequate public facility ordinance to ensure sufficient school capacity. And the use will ensure the county's ability to provide adequate public facilities because we have no guarantees of phasing. I don't think it ensures and protects our public facilities.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. Next item is new business. First item under new business, ordinance amendment, order of proceedings. This is the second reading, and I will turn this over to our county manager to explain why we need, or county attorney,
I might
rather.
take that one.
County attorney.
Yes, thank you. This ordinance amendment has been before you at the last meeting, but because all ordinance amendments require unanimous vote at the first reading, and that did not happen, now it just requires a majority vote. So this is the second reading, and this is the amendment to the order of business. And the big change is that instead of there being one large heading of public hearings, those have been separated out into quasi-judicial evidentiary hearings and then legislative hearings, because there's just different rules, different standards that apply. And the reports, the commissioner's reports, county manager's report, and county attorney's report is now at the end of the agenda. So again, this just requires majority vote because this is the second reading.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Morgan? If not, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
All right.
One nay, I'm
One nay.
sorry.
Okay, one nay. Okay. And then we'll go to the second item under new business. That's the balloon ban ordinance. Ms.
Oh, I
Morgan?
apologize. I thought she was started in on that one.
That's what I thought. So
We're on the ordinance change.
Yeah, the ordinance is a yes. If I can amend that.
okay, so your vote is
I was
yes
reading
for the
something.
for the order of proceedings.
You're in the
Yes,
You thought we were on the balloon
support-
ban.
Yes, I thought we had already jumped and finished. I
Okay,
thought you were
no,
doing it
that's
as a
what I'm
group.
getting ready to
sorry.
explain.
Okay,
Okay.
now we're
So
on the balloon ban ordinance.
apologize.
Yes, ma'am.
Morgan.
Now we know.
Yes.
Okay, now we know.
This is just like the prior ordinance amendment. This is the second reading, and this is to prohibit the intentional release of balloons. And the penalty for that is a civil penalty, $50 for each violation.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion or discussion.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'm the nay to this one.
Okay. All right, thank you. Motion carries. The next thing under new business is a resolution adopting the strategic direction of Currituck County. I will turn this over to the county manager if you want to just speak to it briefly about the process.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. So the board met on Tuesday, February 4th, and chose to embark on a strategic planning effort. Out of that session, the board was able to develop a mission statement, vision statement, and then identify 4 core values. And this resolution before you tonight is affirmation of that work and adoption of a resolution in support of that.
Okay, and I'm going to read the the resolution, just because I think it's important for people to hear what our vision and mission statements and our core values are. Whereas the Currituck County Board of Commissioners recently met during February of 2025 board retreat to discuss strategic planning for Currituck County government, and whereas there is a need for organizations to establish a strategic framework for success, and the establishment of a mission statement and a vision statement can be instrumental in this endeavor. And whereas the following vision and mission statements are crafted to clearly and concisely convey the direction of Currituck County. Vision statement: a sustainable, economically diverse environment that preserves natural resources and strengthens livelihoods. Mission statement: Currituck County is committed to preserving our heritage and providing quality services while maintaining a safe and healthy and thriving community for all. Whereas a set of organizational values were identified that embody the spirit of service and represent our commitment as an organization to both our citizens and employees, Currituck County core values: stewardship, sustainability, transparency, flexibility. Whereas the Board of Commissioners values the opportunity to openly discuss the county's current challenges and future opportunities, and whereas in its commitment to the strategic planning process, the Board of Commissioners will identify strategic focus areas to guide the work of Currituck County. And whereas the Board of Commissioners will engage with citizens, employees, and community stakeholders to develop strategies to achieve the goals of the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Currituck County Board of Commissioners does hereby adopt the above mission and vision statements and core values of Currituck County government. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners is committed to the implementation of a shared vision that guides decision-making, aligns the resources with priorities, and provides direction for long-term work plans. I'll take a motion for approval.
Move for approval, Chairman.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, our next item on the agenda is resolution supporting 911 Saves Act of 2025 and the reclassification of telecommunicators as first responders. Ms. Gay.
Thank you. So Commissioner Owen Etheridge brought this up several months ago, and the board tonight will consider a resolution supporting the 911 Saves Act of 2025 and the reclassification of 911 telecommunicators as first responders. The 911 Saves Act was first introduced into Congress in 2021 and did not pass, but again gained momentum in North Carolina in 2013. The General Assembly, both the House and Senate, recognized telecommunicators as first responders through a statement of support. And then recently, in January, the 911 Saves Act of 2025 was reintroduced into United States House of Representatives. So the board tonight will consider a resolution that would require the director of the Office of Management and Budget to reclassify 911 telecommunicators from office, clerical, and administrative support occupations to protective service occupation as first responders. So again, by adopting this resolution, the board will recognize 911 telecommunicators as first responders in North Carolina's public safety. And the Currituck County Board of Commissioners also expresses its support for the 911 Saves Act, which reclassifies 911 telecommunicators to a protective service occupation as first responders.
Okay, thank you. I will entertain a motion or discussion.
So, move for approval.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. The next item on the agenda is the resolution for updating the 2016 Beach and Inlet Management Plan. Once again, Ms. Gay.
Thank you. Currituck County is a member of the North Carolina Beach and Inlet Waterways Association, and as such, the association requested the county's support in a legislative goal that was adopted by the association, which is in support of updating the state beach and inlet management plan. Just, let's see it. No, I don't have that in front of me. Excuse me. I can read that this evening if you would like, or it's fairly short.
That's fine.
Okay, all right. So this is a resolution of support for updating the 2016 Beach and Inlet Management Plan. The acronym is BIP or BIMP. Whereas the first Beach and Inlet Management Plan was funded via House Bill 1840 and completed in 2009, which provided necessary information to address North Carolina's natural resources, funding mechanisms, and strategies for the comprehensive management of the state's ocean and inlet shorelines. And whereas the plan provided needed socioeconomic values of North Carolina beaches and recommended management strategies. And whereas in 2016, an updated plan provided new coastal and socioeconomic data and reflected policy changes implemented since the original plan, including the latest beach nourishment and dredging activities completed over the previous 7 years. And whereas in 2016, an updated plan projected the necessary needed funding to maintain the state's coastline while offering several possible revenue options. And whereas due to healthy growth in North Carolina coastal communities, a regularly updated plan must be conducted to effectively steer state and local management resources in complex planning in support of 326 miles of ocean shoreline, barrier islands, and 19 active inlet complexes that collectively generate over $4 billion in annual revenues. Now therefore be it resolved that the Currituck County Board of Commissioners supports updating the 2016 Beach and Inlet Management Plan and ensuring relevant current data is used to develop appropriate management strategies for the protection and preservation of our beaches and inlet waterways. Be it further resolved that this resolution of support will be made known to Currituck County's representatives in the North Carolina General Assembly.
Thank you. I'll open the floor for discussion or a motion.
So moved.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Our next item on the agenda is board appointments. The first board appointment under A is the Planning Board. Appoint Steve Hedrick to replace David Dahl, an expired term ending 12/31/25. And this is Mr. O'Neill's appointment. And then also to the Planning Board reappointments, terms expiring December 31st, 2026. Mike Corbell to his second term, that's Mr. Payment's appointment. Brian Bass to his third term, that's Ms. Rowe's appointment. And Brian Ennis to his first full term, that's Mr. McCord's appointment. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve a lot of them as noted.
All is one. I'll second it.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Our next set of appointments are to the Wellhead Subdivision Improvement Advisory Stormwater Consensus Appointments. Appoint Paul Amble, MD, replacing Cheryl Cole, an expired term ending January 30th, 2026. And 3 reappointments, Larry Queen to a third term ending January 30th, 2027. Jim Cummings to the second term ending January 30th, 2027. And Harry Lucas to second term ending January 30th, 2027. These are consensus appointments. I'll take a motion.
So move for approval as the group.
Okay, a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And then the last item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled out and discussed?
Move for approval.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And finally, can I get a motion for adjournment?
So
Make a
moved.
motion that we adjourn.
All right, second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed can stay. Meeting adjourned.